Welcome to episode 541 of the show. Today, we're going to look at how to validate your business idea, and that's going to be a spillover from the previous ideas that we've been discussing on whether we can truly say that some business ideas are unachievable. Okay, yes. So to validate your business ideas, if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, let's say for the last 5 to 10 episodes, I'm sure you must have sussed out that to validate your business idea, you can do so using sales or using traction. Now, sales validates your business idea if your business idea is built around products or around services or around prototypes that can be sold immediately. While traction is for apps, websites, ideas that require users now to be monetized later. For instance, I'm currently advising some clients on a real estate app, a real estate site that also has an app, and that is called Checkam. And what they're trying to do is to make real estate readily accessible to people in Nigeria, especially people who want to rent or people who want to buy. So they're trying to solve the problem of getting reliable inventory, houses or plots of land that are not tied up in court cases, choice properties. Help people out with deciding on the kind of properties that they want to buy, helping people with payment options, vetting buyers and renters, those sorts of things. But before a business like this, Checkam, can really take off, obviously it's going to be a future-based thing. So right now, the early days are around making sure that agents sign up to the website and put their listings, the inventory there, land for sale, and then also get some users there who want to buy and sell. So the early part of this business idea for Checkam is going to be around creating that interface for buyers and sellers, and so monetizing or charging people fees and things like that is going to be something that will be done later on down the line. So if you have this sort of idea, like what the early version of YouTube was, for instance, so in the early days for YouTube, they just tried to get as many people putting up their videos onto YouTube, and then it was only later on then that they now monetize with advertisements and the creator partnerships and then stuff like that. So there's some things that are products or services or prototypes that you can sell now. For those ones, the number of sales and the positive interactions that you're getting is going to be the form of validation. But if you have apps or ideas like this real estate idea that I've mentioned right now, that I'm currently advising on, or like what Facebook and YouTube used to be in their early days, then what you're going to be looking at is traction. So today, let's explore this idea of sales as validation. And remember what I said in the beginning, we're also going to tie that into this idea of whether any business idea is unachievable from the get-go. And the reason why I am exploring that is because, like I mentioned in the last, I think in the previous two episodes, I think 2 episodes before this. So if this is your first time of listening, after you're done listening to this, you can go back to episode 540 or maybe 539, and you'll catch the part where I was dealing with a question from a business incubation session where someone asked whether their own business idea was achievable. And so using sales or traction, we're going to be able to validate your business idea, and you will know if you'll now be able to know for a fact, okay, maybe not for a fact, but you're now going to have a much more concrete idea of whether this business idea is in fact unachievable from the get-go, whether it's going to work or not. And so that's going to be from using sales as validation. So to use sales to validate your business idea, you're basically going to have to take your grand business idea and then chunk it up into smaller versions. And then with each smaller version, you're going to do some sales drive and then see if you can get some sales, get some revenue, get some positive responses, maybe like people doing pre-orders, things like that. And it's when people do things like that, that is a sign of confidence from the market, because people, potential customers, actual customers, are telling you that your idea is valuable, that your service is valuable. And in fact, it is so valuable that even though this is not the fullest version of the idea, I am willing to give you money now for your product or your service. So when you have those kinds of responses on ground, it's obviously a good sign to show that this idea is workable. It's time to explore some more. So when you get sales, when you get revenue, positive responses, pre-orders, bookings, whatever it is that you want to call it, then it's a sign that this is a good idea to move to the next stage. And it's the same at the next stage as well. It's just basically rinse and repeat. Sales drive, outreach, talk to people, whatever it is that you do, and then see how much sales, revenue, pre-orders, bookings, whatever it is that you get, and then you know that it's a sign to that you can move on to the bigger version of the idea. For instance, there's this idea that running a vegetarian business in Nigeria is going to be a flop. So let's say there's someone who wants to open up a vegetarian restaurant in Abuja. It might seem like a silly idea, and for most Nigerians listening to the podcast right now, they can probably see why. Because we are largely a meat eating culture and a very hedonistic meat eating culture, especially around the holidays. Because at the time of this podcast, excuse me, at the time of this podcast, we've gone past the Christmas holidays and and the New Year, and then of course Valentine's is going to be around the corner, and then Easter and Salah and anyway, you get the picture. And one thing that all these ideas have in common is going to be copious amounts of eating meat, whether it's meat or chicken or ram or cow or turkey or whatever. You get the picture. In Nigeria, we eat a lot of meat. So, if someone wants to open a vegetarian restaurant in Abuja, it might be tempting to say that, look, this business idea is unachievable, it's not workable, it's not practical, and that's because of our meat eating culture, so this idea is not workable. Now, in this case, rather than just relying on this common knowledge that we have that Abuja people eat meat, therefore a vegetarian restaurant is not going to work, you might just take your idea, then cut it up into have smaller versions of the idea, and then try to validate that as you go along. So, step one might be cooking out of your kitchen and then trying to sell to friends and family members and associates, people at work. Let's say you work maybe at Zenith Bank, so you do the cooking over the weekend, and then during the week you see how many of these things you can sell. And you're going to find out a couple of things. You'll find out that yes, maybe the central thesis is indeed correct, and that Abuja people love to eat meat. But you might find that there's a small group of people who buy your vegetarian cuisine for different reasons. There are some people who are going to buy for the health benefits because their doctor has advised them that you need to eat less meat so that your cholesterol can go down and your blood pressure can go down and, those health reasons. So some people who are going to buy your vegetarian cuisine because they believe that vegetarian cuisine gives you better looking skin, so you don't have to do so many face peels, and you can cut down on your beauty regimen. There are some other people who are going to buy your vegetarian food on philosophical grounds because they don't believe in the unethical treatment of animals. And then there's some people who are going to buy your vegetarian cuisine on cultural grounds because maybe they're returnees coming back from New York or whatever, and they're used to the posh cosmopolitan lifestyle where to be seen to be vegetarian is going to be high class, and then all of that. So, regardless of whatever motivations they are, you're going to find that there's a small group of people who are going to dig into this vegetarian idea of yours, and they're going to buy your food. And that's just from talking to friends and family members and associates. Now, the next step is to try and get some referrals from these people that we've spoken to, and you'll find that you might get some referrals. You might not. But if you're successful at these first stages, stages 1 and 2, then you're now brave enough to know that perhaps it's now time to set up an Instagram handle and then start running some sponsored some sponsored posts or running ads and then things like that, and see how many people buy. So let's say you do this Instagram thing for a couple of months. Let's say the cooking out of your kitchen thing lasted about 3 months, and then you now set up the Instagram handle. You say, let's see how this goes. You push the Instagram handle thing for another 9 months or maybe 1 year. After that, you see, let's see if we can make it bigger than that. You approach some other offices. So like I said in the earlier example, let's say you work in Zenith Bank, and so even though you work in Zenith, you know some other people in Diamond Bank. Okay, no, there's no more Diamond Bank. What's it called? Access. So you approach some people, your friends in Access Bank, and then maybe in Stanbic or other banks, and then see if you can start making office deliveries. And the process is pretty much the same. You're rinsing and repeating. Each time, you're finding that the main thesis might be correct, that people are largely meat eating, but you find that there's a small cadre of people who buy your vegetarian cuisine for lots of other reasons. Whatever reasons that they tap into are not important for now. They're going to be important um, for your branding and your marketing messaging in the future. But for now, we're just trying to see if this idea can work. Now, it's maybe only after you've done this office deliveries for maybe another couple of months, let's say 3 months to a year or something like that, that you now know that, okay, maybe it is now time for the restaurants to come on board. Now, if you look at this as sales as a means of validating the idea, you can see how if you go this way, it might take you a little longer, because if with this process I've outlined now, it might take you a year and a half or maybe 2 years to get to your vegetarian restaurant. But you're doing this in a much safer way, and in a way that the market keeps giving you validation with each step to say, this is a good idea, it is valuable, there is demand, people desire this, go on, take the next step. So this is a much more safer way of going about it than just waking up one day and saying, I want to start a vegetarian restaurant, and then thinking, Abuja people don't eat meat, I'm not going to try it in Abuja. Let me try it in Lagos. Lagos people might be much more open to a vegetarian restaurant idea. Um, you just be shooting around in the dark. It's best to move from concrete data that you have, and sales gives you the data that you need. So, this is how you go about validating your business idea using sales. And it also helps you answer the question whether your business idea is unworkable, unachievable, impractical, depending on the context, the market, the environment, or the culture that you are in. These are some of the tools where you can answer that question. So don't just assume that your idea is not going to work. You can set about using sales to validate your idea. So long as you come up with smaller versions of the idea, execute, see what kind of responses that you get, and then you move on from there. So in the future episodes of the podcast, we're going to explore how we can use traction to achieve the same effect. So thank you very much for listening to episode 541. I'll catch you guys at the next episode. Remember that if you guys have any questions, you can ask me anything by sending me WhatsApp messages or Telegram messages on 080 6466 2140. The country code is +234. Again, country code +234, and the number is 080 6466 2140. Thanks for your time and attention. I'll catch you guys on episode 542.